Hello, dear students. I welcome you all on behalf of Sri Jayendra Rank Zone classes. Dear students, we are in continuation of the chapter Plant Kingdom, and in previous few classes we have completed the gymnosperm, and today we are going to study in this class about the angiosperm. Dear student, angiosperm, if we talk, then in angiosperm it include only flowering plants. And in this angiosperm, ovules are present inside the ovary of gynoecium. So means this ovule will produce a seed, but that seed are covered by pericarp. Means angiosperm means enclosed seed. Angiosperm means enclosed seed. And this enclosed seed are found. So because of the presence of ovary wall around the ovule, the pericarp is formed around the seed. In mango, whatever the edible part is there, that is nothing but a pericarp. And in the center you will find a seed, and then the mango whole fruit will be formed. So here fruit formation also occurs. You can see this is the flower and this is the flowering plants. Now in flowering plants, if we see, the flower is there, and in flowers there is a male sex organ and female sex organ. And so they have a flower, and flower have a male sex organ, that is the androecium, and the female sex organ, that is the gynoecium. And androecium have an anther, and that anther produce the pollen grain. Whereas the ovules are developed in specialized structure, that is a ovary. And it is known that this ovule is formed in the carpel, in the ovary part. Okay, and these both are formed androecium gynoecium in the flower. So pollen grain, when fused with the particular egg cell present in the ovule, then fertilization will occur and the flower will be produced, as you can see. And in this diagram, you can see this is the particularly pollen grain. These are pollen grain, and this represent ovule, and within ovule the egg will be formed. So the flowers will be produced like this. So in angiosperms, seeds are enclosed within the fruits. So you can see this is the fruit, and in fruit also you can see this is the pericarp part, this is the seed. Okay, and the whole fruit is formed. Here also in this fruit, the so the angiosperms are embryophytic. Embryo formation occur. Non-archegoniad means archegonia is not there as a female sex organ. In angiosperm, female sex organ is gynoecium, which is a group of carpel. They are vascular plants. They have vascular tissue. They are fruit bearing. They have fruits, and their phanerogams or spermatophytes means pollen grain are the carrier of the male gamete, and the pollen tube formation occurs. And the phanerogams means seed formation is also occurring. So, angiosperm are an exceptionally large group of plants occurring in a wide range of habitat. They are found everywhere, you can say, and they range in size from tiny, almost microscopic wolfia, means the as small as wolfia, which is microscopic, is angiosperm, and the eucalyptus is the tree which is a tall, which can grow over 100 meters, that is wolfia. Okay, so this is the particular features of the angiosperm. This is Wolfia. You can see this is a microscopic, and this is the eucalyptus, which is 100-meter long, can be there. Now they provide us angiosperm specifically. You see, whatever the plants which we have found in nearby to our existence or our habitat, that they provide us with the food, fodder, fuel, medicine, and several other commercially important products to meet our day-to-day life. So, dear student, Here, this is the things which are provided by the plants. So it is useful as a food for us as well as some of the animals. When we see that plant body, in plant body, you can, if you see the tree or herb, shrub or tree, they will find a root, stem and leaf. And in root system, it can be taproot or adventitious type. If it is taproot or it is adventitious type, then in taproot the root arises from radical. Root arise from radical. And adventitious, in this particularly, root arise from plant part other than radical. Okay, so same way the root adventitious particular root are formed. So the main conducting element of the xylem are vessels and the phloem consist of companion cells. Dear students, please remember in angiosperm, in xylem, vessels is also present, but in gymnosperm we have studied that there is an absence of vessel. Tracheids are obviously present, and in phloem companion cell and sieve tube are present. In phloem sieve tube is also present, but sieve cell is absent. So you can see in this the companion cell are found, and companion cell are found in association with the sieve tube element. Okay, so you can see here this is the sieve tube element and this is the companion cell. So sieve tube element, in this sieve tube element you will not find a nucleus, but nucleus is present in a companion cell, and this nucleus will regulate the pressure flow in this sieve tube element. They develop flowers with usually conspicuous perianth. Okay, flowers have a usually conspicuous perianth. Conspicuous perianth. Perianth is a group of tepal. Okay, this is the perianth lobe. Okay, so what is first? What is perianth? So we remember perianth is a group of tepal, and tepal is what? Fused sepal and petal. Means if petal and sepal are not differentiated, they look like a single one, then it is known as tepal, and the group of tepal is known as perianth. Now the male sex organ in flower are stamen, and the group of stamen is known as androecium. You can see these are the stamen, and the group of stamen is known as androecium. In a stamen, you know that there is a presence of anther and filament. Okay, so each stamen consists of a slender filament with an anther at the tip. In a stamen, you will find a filament and the anther at the tip. In the anthers, microscopic mother cell undergo meiosis and produce a pollen grain. Means microspore mother cell undergo meiosis and produce a pollen grain. You can see this is the female sex organ in flower is pistil or carpel, and you can see this is the particularly pistil or carpel which have a stigma style and ovary. And pistil consists of an ovary enclosing and many ovule. So in this part you can see this is the stigma, this is style, and at the bottom you can find a ovary within which ovules are found. Okay, and ovary will look like this, and in this ovary you will find the presence of ovule like this. So many ovules can be present. Okay, so these are the some of the characteristics which of the particularly angiosperm. Now in the angiosperm, dear student, they are flowering. So if we talk about the flower, flower has non-essential wall and essential wall. Non-essential wall or essential wall. Essential wall are also known as reproductive wall, and non-essential wall are also known as non-reproductive wall. And this non-essential wall include calyx and corolla, whereas essential wall or reproductive wall consists of androecium and gynoecium. Okay, so this calyx and corolla are found in here, and androecium and gynoecium are found in this case. If we talk about a life cycle, then in a flower, if you see, you will find a particularly stamen and carpel. The flower has stamen and carpel. Now stamen has anther. Okay, so if we draw this stamen, then this is the anther. Anther has microspore mother cell, and this microspore mother cell is diploid, which undergo meiosis and produce diploid spore. That is microspore, and microspore is haploid. And this microspore has haploid has pollen grain, and this pollen grain are also microspore has male gamete actually. Sorry, this microspore itself are known as pollen grain, and this pollen grain has two male gamete, whereas carpel has ovary, and ovary has megaspore. Ovary has ovule. Ovule, within ovule you will find megaspore mother cell. This megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis, and it undergo meiosis to produce megaspore, and this megaspore are haploid. Okay, so out of four megaspore, three degenerate and one survive. Okay, and here it has a two male gamete. So like this life cycle happens. Now this process where microspore mother cell produces microspore and it has a male gamete, and this megaspore has three degenerate and one survive. The survived megaspore produce embryo sac. So the question is how they produce. So this is a simplified diagram which I have shown. Now how they produce, that we have to understand in detail. So first we are going to talk about microsporogenesis. Now if we talk about microsporogenesis, which occur during the anther pollen sac. So microsporogenesis occur in pollen sac of anther, and in this microsporangium there is a microspore mother cell. This microspore mother cell undergo meiosis to produce pollen tetrad, because this is also known as pollen mother cell. This pollen mother cell or microspore mother cell is diploid and pollen tetrad haploid is produced, and this particularly four microspore get separated. This microspore are haploid. Now in each microspore microgametogenesis occur, and in microgametogenesis the gametes are produced. So initially this is a microspore, and in each microspore first unequal division occur. An unequal division of cytoplasm occurs in case of this. So within a this two cells are produced. One is small sized cells known as generative cell, and one is large sized cells that is known as vegetative cell. Now generally generative cell undergo mitosis and produce two male gamete. So here you can see two male gamete are there, and this is the vegetative cell. So like this, two male gamete are produced within one pollen grain. So this is nothing but a pollen grain, and in pollen grain you will find the presence of two male gamete. But same way in carpel or ovule, megasporogenesis occur, and in megasporogenesis, which occur within ovule, where suppose this is ovule, it has a megaspore mother cell. This megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis and produce four megaspore. Three degenerate and one survived. This survived one formed female gametophyte or embryo sac. So how this particularly form a embryo sac, that is megagametogenesis. So let's talk about the megagametogenesis. In megagametogenesis what happens? One survived megaspore is there. In this megaspore, if we enlarge it, then it has a one nucleus and one megaspore. Now in nucleus, free nuclear mitosis occur. And if free nuclear mitosis occur, then two nucleus are formed. These two nucleus are again undergo free nuclear division and four nucleus are formed. Sorry, here one more important point you have to remember, that these two nuclei first go to the opposite pole, then they undergo a particular mitosis. So I am removing this and I am forming two nucleus here, two nucleus here. Now again then they undergo third free nuclear division. So total 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 nucleus are formed. Out of 8 nucleus, again one nucleus from each pole come to the center. So now this is the condition, and after coming to the center, cytokinesis occur. that is cytoplasm division. When cytoplasm division occurs, then you will find a presence of synergid axial antipode and two polar nuclei. So these are the three antipodal cells. These are the two synergid and this is axial. And these are the two polar nuclei which are present in the central cell. Okay, so this embryo sac is produced. This is nothing but a embryo sac or female gametophyte. And in this embryo sac, you will see that total one, two synergid, one axial, and one central cell. So total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 cells are there. But in central cell, two nucleus are there. So eight nucleus are there. So this embryo sac is 7 celled, 8 nucleated. 8 nucleated. Okay, so this is embryo sac is produced in the megagametogenesis. So in embryo sac, egg cell is there, in pollen grain male gamete are there, so that the fertilization will occur in case of this later on. So we will discuss that. So what we have studied until now, within ovule a megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis and produce a 4 megaspore that we have discussed. Then usually only one megaspore or monosporic development we can say into a highly reduced milk-gametophyte that is embryo sac. And this is the particular embryo sac which have a micropylar end where the integument is absent. This is the two integument which are absent in the micropylar end. Then within that you will find a two synergid, one egg cell, two polar nuclei, and the three antipodal. One more important quality you should remember that this towards micropyle you will find the presence of axial and synergid, whereas towards chalaza and you will find a antipodal cells. Okay, so this is nothing but a embryo sac or female gametophyte which is has having a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nucleus, but how many cells? 7 cells. So 7-celled 8 nucleated embryo sac is formed here. Apart from this, each embryo sac has a 3-celled egg apparatus. An egg apparatus comprises of the two polar nuclei. It comprises of two synergid and actually egg apparatus consisting of an egg cell with two synergid. Okay, so two synergid and egg cell combinedly form a egg apparatus. And apart from egg apparatus, we'll come to know that they have a three antipodal cells and the two polar nuclei. So you can see this is also showing the 7-celled 8 nucleated embryo sac, which is having chalaza and three antipodals, two polar nuclei, synergid, and egg cell at the micropylar end. Okay, this is the apparatus. Three antipodal cells. These are the three antipodal cells. Two polar nuclei that are this one. So the polar nuclei eventually fuse to produce a diploid secondary nucleus. So they fuse to form a secondary nucleus. Pollination. After the formation of egg cell in the ovule, in the carpel, and the male gamete in the pollen grain of the anther, the pollen grain are reached to the stigma. So that is known as pollination. So the pollen grains after dispersal from the anther are carried to by a wind or a water. If they are carried by the wind, it is known as anemophily. If they are carried by water, that is known as hydrophily, or by other various biotic agencies like animals, it can be taken to the stigma of the pistil. So pollination is nothing but a transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. Now, apart from this, you will see this is the flower one, this is the flower two. From this is the butterfly. Butterfly is connecting these two plants, and how it is connecting, it is taking a particularly pollen grain and giving it to the another one. So in this way it is showing a zoophily, and the particularly pollen grains are dispersed like this. Okay, so the transfer of pollen to the ovule is the in the ovary is not direct and hence called a indirect pollination. It is through the stigma and style, not direct as we have seen in case of the gymnosperm. Here, the pollen grain are transferred from anther to the stigma, and after reaching stigma, they develop pollen tube, and pollen tube passes through the style. The pollen grain germinate on the stigma. When pollen grain attach to the stigma on the carpel, it germinate, and the resulting pollen tube grow through the tissues of the stigma and style and reach the ovule. Through the style, it really reach to the ovule. After reaching ovule, the pollen tube enter the embryo sac where two male gametes are discharged. The two male gametes which are present in the embryo in the pollen tube get discharged. One male gamete and two male gamete. Now the first male gamete and second male gamete, first male gamete fuse with the egg cell and they produce a zygote, and it is known as syngamy. Whereas second male gamete fuse with the diploid secondary nucleus and form triploid primary endosperm nucleus, that is a triple fusion. So the primary endosperm nucleus is triploid and zygote is diploid. And here two times fusion is occurring of the separate male gamete. So it is known as double fertilization. And because of the involvement of two fusion, that is syngamy and triple fusion, that is known as double fertilization. The fertilization is siphonogamous oogamy. You can see here the siphonogamy means zygote develop into embryo with one or two cotyledon, and the primary endosperm develop into the endosperm. So zygote form embryo and primary endosperm nucleus form endosperm, which provides the nourishment to the developing embryo. The synergid and antipodas degenerate after fertilization. Actually, after fertilization, synergid and antipoda are going to degenerate in the embryo sac. During this event, the ovule develop into seed, and during this transformation, ovule form a seed and ovaries form a fruit. Based on the number of cotyledon in the seed, angiosperm are divided into further two classes. Angiosperm are divided into two classes with the number of dicotyledons, and there are two type of plants, that is monocotyledon and dicotyledon. Monocotyledon, if we see, they have a single cotyledon, and dicotyledons have a two cotyledon. The dicotyledon are characterized by two cotyledon. You can see this one, dicotyledon are there, and monocot by having only one cotyledon in their seeds. You can see here. Okay, so this is the thing. Let's talk about the last some of the MCQs. In angiosperm, ovule are present inside the ovary, outside the ovary, partially inside, partially outside the ovary. None of this. Then the angiosperm ovule are present inside the ovary. An angiosperm, each embryo sac has three-celled egg apparatus consisting of. You know that egg apparatus consists of one egg cell and two synergy. Okay, so one egg cell with the two synergy is the correct answer. That is the fourth one. The dicote are characterized by one cotyledon, dicote having a two cotyledon. Okay, so dear students, now we have dealt with the angiosperm in the superficial way or somewhat in detail also. But dear students, about angiosperm there is a whole chapter, complete chapter in class 12th, and in that we will discuss about the sexual reproduction in flowering plant. That is a one chapter which completely explains angiosperm in detail. So we will look forward for the some of the more detailing in that chapter. Till that, thank you. Good day.